Good morning, everyone. Janice, Miss K, Pippa Dot, Francie. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. How are we doing this morning? Cheers to everyone having a cup of coffee and waking up to this bright, shiny day. What a hell of a heat wave we're having. Good morning, Cement Shoes. Sorry about any noise you may hear from that box fan back there, but the AC in my studio went out, and I'm waiting for. Uh, I think they're called it a HAVAC, air conditioning company. Rye Gaming, what's up, man? Not much, not much. Good morning, and welcome to this morning's coffee brew. Give it a couple minutes for people to show up. Gayla, good morning. Sacramento checking in. Emily, good morning. Yeah, the AC in my studio went out, so I'm reliant on that right there, which is a 1979 box fan made by Montgomery Wards. It still works. It only has one speed, but it works. It's better than nothing right now. They're supposed to be out today by 11, so next 3 hours. Kitty Coo, good morning. Welcome. Rykart, good morning. Welcome to this morning's Crime Brew. It's your birthday in 2 days. I'm so excited. Well, happy birthday, Rye Gaming. Happy birthday to you. You successfully made it another year. That's the way I look at birthdays. Every time I look at like my birthday comes, I'm to that age. It's like, hey, I made it another year. I have a funny way of adding up years. I always joke with my wife when someone is walking through a cemetery, they look at a tombstone and they go, "Oh, this person was born in 1970 or whatever it might be," and then they go, "Well, they died this year." They just quickly do the math. They go, "Oh, they were 53." No, they maybe they were like 3 months shy of their birthday, but as long as I live past New Year's Day, I get credit for it on my tombstone because somebody walks by and just does a quick math. So, but that's just me. I have a warped way of looking at life and death. I know, man. It's nice. There you go. I hope you have the chance to spend it with your friends and family. Dee Dee, good morning. Dee Dee, Mike Stevens, good morning. Welcome to this morning's Coffee Brew. Gemma, good morning. Babacat, good morning, Babacat. Good morning, good morning, good morning. All right, I'm gonna get the first one up here that we're going to talk about. Not a lot in the news, but from this past week that I've been following, that I've been kind of keeping up on. Some of these I may have done a video on, or you might see them later today or tomorrow. But let's get this up here. The first one we're going to talk about is the Duggar family. Yes. Oh boy, Josh Duggar's family. And what fun have they been this week? All right, first off, did Jim Bob and Michelle kick Anna Duggar and her kids out? Obviously, this comes from the Sun magazine. I don't know if it's real or not, but there may be some credibility to it because Anna is now in Texas with all of her kids. Marcus Mason, Michelle, Meredith Madison, Mackenzie, and Marielle. They're all in Texas with Anna. Now, I don't know, and I'm still waiting for confirmation. There's been a lot of rumors on the internet. But then again, the people who do YouTube videos, and for the large majority of them, and those who have these blogs and these In Touch and different entertainment blogs, they say Josh Duggar has had his rights restored for visitation, but I can't confirm that because I'm waiting back from the actual confirmation from Seagoville Federal Penitentiary. So I can't say if he has or not. But put that aside. Let's just assume that he does have his rights back to visitation. If he does, when Anna goes, she can only bring 2 of the children at each time. Now, if she goes to visitation on Saturday, she can't go Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday. She can only go one day that weekend. She can bring 2, and then the next time she can bring 2. So she has to rotate the children out. Why would she go all the way from where she was living on the Duggar family compound to Texas with all of her children if it's for visitation, if she can only bring 2? Now, the other thing is Mackenzie, who is the oldest of Josh Duggar and Anna's children, was also spotted at a birthday party at a bowling alley, of all places. And there were other children there, but there's no confirmation if it was Anna's children who were at the birthday party as well. But there were quite a few kids at the birthday party who were underage. But Mackenzie was actually pictured and posted on Snapchat and on Instagram, a picture of her and the birthday girl. And Anna confirmed that she was there in Texas with all of her children. Did she travel all that ways for the birthday party? We don't know. I would assume, that was probably part of it. But supposedly Anna and Jim Bob had some kind of a disagreement and she moved out of the family home. To give confirmation, a little bit of insight into that on top of it, back on June 25th, when law enforcement was dispatched to the Duggar family compound, the first 2 officers arrived at 8:29 a.m. on Sunday, the 25th. 2 additional officers arrived at a little bit after 8:31 a.m. When they spoke with Jim Bob and Michelle and the one minor child that doesn't say who the minor child is that they spoke with, I would assume it'd be one of Jim Bob's and Michelle's children. They did not say that Anna or any of her kids resided in the home. They listed off all of Jim Bob and Michelle's minor children and their nephew, who they gained custody of in 2016. They never mentioned to law enforcement that Anna lived there or any of her kids lived there. But so many people, jumped into the comment section of that video of mine and told me, no, you're wrong. Anna lives there with them. It's a 7,000 square foot home. This is the home that that Jim Bob and Michelle actually reside in, and they raised all 19 of their kids in. Now, on the actual property, there are other homes on the property, a couple of log cabins and a warehouse, an office, that is attached to the warehouse. And there's also other homes on the property that the Duggar children live on with their families and their kids. Was Anna residing with them or after this argument or fight with Jim Bob? Nobody knows, but we know this much. She wasn't residing in the home, the 7,000 square foot home with Jim Bob and Michelle. If she was residing there, and that is where she resides, Jim Bob and Michelle lied to law enforcement about who actually resides in that home. That's a big no-no. So that's what's going on with the Duggars right now. I'm still trying to confirm why she's in Texas, or did she live in the warehouse, or like it says here, or I don't know any of that, or I can't, nor can I confirm it. And you can't take the Sun and In Touch and some of these other Entertainment Weekly. You can only trust their sources as far as you can throw them. And with my bad back, I can't throw them anywhere. So it's a line from Ferris Bueller's Day Off, in case you're wondering. Reference. Okay, next one. U.S. crime rate. Something that I'm always following. The crime rate in the United States. Is it going up? Is it going down? Is violent crime up? Is violent crime down? Where is the U.S. crime rate? According to the FBI's uniform, most recent information, the 5 most hazardous states in the U.S. as of 2023. This is as of May of 2023. Louisiana overall crime rate is up 537.5 instances per 100,000 people, making it the most dangerous state right now to reside in, the state of Louisiana. And I know a lot of people are surprised when you look at this list. Where is the state of California? California's definitely got to be the most violent place, right? Ladies and gentlemen, the most violent state in the U.S. when it comes to the list, and where California is number 11 on the list. Mississippi is number 2, Alaska number 3, Arkansas number 4, followed by New Mexico. Biden, I don't know if Biden said that, but that's pretty funny, Mike. Now, this is for everyone, poor, middle class, and rich. But when it comes to crime rate overall and violent crime rate, it affects everyone. Yeah, it may affect the poor and the middle class a lot more than the rich, but they're still, affected by it either way, either their businesses or them personally. Where is Michigan? 1 second, Emily. I'm going to pull up my PDF file. Michigan is number 7. Number 7 on the list, Emily. And New York is number 6. In case anybody else was wondering. But the crime rate is violent crime rate after COVID. During the COVID closure and shutdown, violent crime rate actually spiked from East Coast to West Coast of the United States. It went up about 4% overall average. And that's a pretty big spike in the violent crime rate. Now, certain states have seen a great reduction in violent crime rate since then. So that definitely brings the average down. But violent crime in America, we're talking murder, rape, all of it is included in violent crime. Violent crime is actually still up, but some states, because they've had mass reductions, lowers the actual crime rate itself. Arkansas, now I have something over my sons. They moved to Arkansas from California. Yeah, I know, right? I hope they're doing well and they're staying safe. My friend moved from Washington State to Tennessee because the cost of living there and property is so much cheaper versus what it is here. She just likes the country, that part of the country as well. But I have to hold on a second. Tennessee is number 15 on the list. All righty, next. Pathetic Jared Lasik. You may remember him or know him as the co-founder of Adventures with Purpose. Jared Lasik is in the news. I've been following, not him personally, but his attorney and the court case out of San Pete, Utah. His attorney filed 2 motions in court in San Pete, Utah. The first motion is questioning, is the victim eligible to testify to what actually happened, and if she's able. The second one is, if she's able to testify, would the years that have transpired and her statements that she had made to police, are they tainted? But these are two motions that his attorney filed in Sanpete County last week, actually 7 days ago, 6 days ago. May he rot for what he did to his cousin. Yeah, I live in Memphis and never had a problem. It's safe. I like the Memphis area. Nashville's getting bad. Good morning, Amelia. Kaya Okra. Ora. Kaya Ora. Okra. Ora. Good morning, Will and friends. Good morning. Buddy, okay, back to Jared Lasik. So his attorney filed these two motions in Sanpete. And a lot of people asked me in the last two videos on Jared Lasik, when I speak of Sanpete, Utah, what is in that reference to? If you look at the area here in red dotted lines, that is Sanpete County. And when I say that, I should actually not say Sanpete. I should say Manti, which is the actual 6th district court where the actual filings are. But Sanpete is more of like, that's the county itself and not the actual real location where they're filing these. His attorney filed them in Manti, district court, 6th district court. The Sanpete is a county itself, but this is the Utah. As you're looking up and down State Highway 89, Rykart, maybe you've been through this area on Highway 89 or Highway US 15. But there's Spring City, Mount Pleasant, Fairview, Sterling. It's down there by Sterling where they're trying to put an arrow to where it's actually at on the map. To give you an idea of more of where, when I say Sanpete, which is actually wrong, I'm saying that's the county and not the actual location. These are the stories that I have been following this past week. A couple of these have videos that are coming out either today or tomorrow, I haven't released a video on any of these yet. All right, last one. This is a picture of my dashboard of upcoming live streams. The top section here, where there's 3 videos that are separated, that's Inspired to Kill. That's Trivia Night Sunday. Saturday Morning Crime, which is the second one down. That's what we're watching right now. But the Crime Brew one, the third one down, is from June 10th. For some reason, YouTube still thinks that this is an upcoming stream. It's scheduled to release. It says right there, if you look over 5 columns to move my cursor right here, where it's moving on the screen. It says June 10th. It's scheduled. I got 10 likes on it from 10 people who like it. It's about average. I usually get about 10 or 12 people who, out of 200 people who watch my streams, who actually give it a thumbs up. But for some reason, this entire one is hanging, and it's not showing in the actual list of. It's not showing in the list of live streams that I've done. I did that stream. It went 1 hour and 31 minutes. But when you click on past live streams, it's not showing up at all for some reason. And I'm going to have to delete it and then try to upload it. So in this coming week, if you see that there's a live stream that just got posted because the notification goes out, just know that that is a stream from June 10th that I had to re-upload. So I just want to let everybody know about that. I've only seen Utah from interstate heading through to Oregon and from California around Salt Lake. It appears to be a beautiful state. Mountains pop up from flatland. Yeah, I've been to Utah. The last time I was there was Salt Lake. I've been to Provo and I've been to BYU. I went to BYU, probably 30 years ago, for a college football game. But I don't have it's it's not that I don't like the area. It's just I don't have a negative, kind of, like thought of it. Um, I like Colorado more. Colorado and the the mountaintops there. There's just a lot more outdoor activity, and the lifestyle there in Colorado. I like a lot more. It's a lot more like where I am here, for outdoor recreation. I mean, I'm sure Utah offers it. It's just not in the areas, Provo and Salt Lake and other areas that I've been to. But I guess it all depends on where you're from and the what you're interested in. Yes, please hit the thumbs up. Respect Pickles, aka Sarah. I don't think the cops should have charged, but he should be ashamed of not protecting those children. I, in what relation to who, Mike? I'm sorry if I'm missing the Moab, Utah. Moab it's a nice area, in and around Moab. Respect Pickles, aka Sarah. It's been a while. How are you all? Pretty good. Respect the Pickles. I'm gonna have to refer to you as Sarah, so I don't have to go through read that each time. I'm sorry. The Parkland shooting case. Oh, the school resource officer who ran from the shooting and hid until after it was over with. I understand exactly where you're coming from on that, Mike. Um, it's hard to say, really, unless you're in that situation, what you would do. It is that actually in your job description as a school resource officer that you have to take down, a crazed gunman with a fully automatic weapon, and I don't know. I mean, yeah, you think that he's there to protect the children, or is he there to protect the children from themselves? What what situation is the school resource officer's actual duties? Where does the line stop? I know in my local high schools here, I can only speak for those. The school resource officers there, they have a sidearm. They may have one additional clip, but if there's an active shooter situation, they're actually instructed to not confront the actual school shooter. And I know all these parents, especially those who had children who died at Parkland, they wanted him to just to rush right in, and stop the gunman. And a lot of parents, even if you didn't have a parent who died, child who died there, they want them to go in there, and they wanted them, that officer. You're a police officer. Get in there and do your job. Is that their job? Let's just say it wasn't a school and it's a grocery store, like the situation that happened to me, where the gunman, opened fire and killed one and, wounded another, and it drastically changed his life forever. Um, they came in, they assessed the situation, and then they surrounded the store. And then once they had enough manpower, they made entry, just like at Parkland. Now, did that resource officer have to go hide, in another area where he felt safe? Probably not. But should he have been charged? It all depends on what is that, what their actual protocol is. And I've never read what their actual protocol is. Is it to hold back and wait and then make entry once you have the numbers to, properly secure and, and check each room individually? I mean, because from what I understand, the Parkland shooter was at one end of the hallway when he was making entry on the opposite end. He didn't know if there were more than one gunman. There could have been a gunman in another hallway, and then he'd just be another dead body, there. I hate to sound callous of it, but a lot of us on the outside, we want to, say, look, this individual should have done this, or maybe, at Columbine, it could have been this, or one of the other mass shootings, it could have been this. I think we need to back up, and where we really need to place blame is what took place before the shooter actually got to the school and with the shooter itself. But that's just me. Ale are the most commendable I've seen. Get her done. 17 kids died while he assassinated. Yeah. You don't know about this topic? It's all right, Amelia. I hope that, nothing like this happened in our area. Yeah, we've had one too many. Anything more than one school shooting is far, far too many, and it's going to continue to happen. There is no real way on God's green earth. I just want to, for a second, take a couple of the ideas that have been thrown around out there over the course of all the school shootings. Okay, arming teachers is that really what they're there for? Is that something that we should have to do? Yeah, no, it's not something we should have to do. We shouldn't have to arm, every, teacher in the school, to protect the children. We should protect the children while they're in school. Now, I've gone to schools myself personally where you couldn't even get on the school grounds without, the fear of dying just trying to get to the school or into the school. So much so, the one school that I went to, a high school, they bussed all students in, and the bus would drive into the gymnasium, and the door would close. They'd let us off the school bus, then the next door would open, and the bus would go out. And that's the same way repeated to get students in and out of school every day. And then they locked and chained each and every door from the inside every day just to keep those outside from coming in and harming the students who were trying to learn. And that was back in the 1980s. Yeah, that's pretty freaking bad. I don't have the answers, but some of the ideas besides, arming teachers is like, I think it was Ted Cruz who threw out the idea of, closing schools off to just one entry, one exit. That's like shooting fish in a barrel. And anybody who knows, anything about tactical, side of it would never recommend that you only have one entrance and one exit from a school or any location, where there's going to be a possible mass shooting, incident. Because all the person's got to do is just shoot everything from, for that one entrance or anything that comes back in to try to, stop them. Teachers should be allowed to be armed to protect themselves. My whole high school experience, we only had one lockdown in 1995. They aren't there to teach. I think the problem starts, and where we really should focus our attention is before the shooter in the incident ever starts, going backwards. I don't think that more laws and more restrictions on on people having guns is necessarily the answer. Um, Smart, constructive reforms could happen. That could be part of the answer. Ooh, it says, "Oops, one of my streams has disconnected." I see. It says YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, and Twitter are still here. Have no idea what's disconnecting it. It's still showing that I'm getting a drop down menu that one of my streams has disconnected, reconnected, disconnected, reconnected, but it's not telling me which one. Sorry if it's buffering or if you're losing connection. Good morning, Para. Pink Camo, good morning as well. Welcome to this morning's coffee brew, a crime brew. Miss K, health, well-being. That's definitely part of it. I mean, I don't think there is one answer to it all. But just looking at it now, if I'll immediately the first thing that people want to do is pass more gun control, pass more laws to make it illegal. There hasn't been a single law that has ever been passed that is going to stop a criminal from being a criminal or doing what they want to do. I mean, we've had laws on the books for since we've been a country, that have outlawed homicide. Before we had a country, we had laws that outlawed homicide. But it didn't stop people from killing each other. Did semi-automatic, fully automatic weapons make it easier? Yeah, of course it did. But if you go back and you look at the first school shootings ever, some of the first school shootings were done, and mass shootings like and stuff like that. Going postal were done by people who did it with handguns and long rifles. They didn't have access to it, but they still did it, and they still had racked up the same casualty numbers. It took part of the shooter. So is gun control necessarily the answer? No. There are a lot of things that have to be put in place. I think it's something that should be a national discussion, that we should all sit down and go, look, we need to take care of this problem. We need to and step back from the situation and really look at what is causing, what did each and every one of these things have in common? Is it the age of the individual? Is it the mental health of the individual? Is it the structure around them or their access to these things? Passing laws is not going to stop any of it, because they're going to continue to do it over and over again. If you took away all semi-automatic and fully automatic rifles, if you were to take all those away, those tools of death, they would just go on to something else. If you took away all handguns in America, and you outlawed everything, and nobody had any handguns like some other countries have done, except for hunting rifles, and stuff like that. If you did away with it all, let's just say they don't go out and start making bombs again and blowing up schools that way. It's not the first time. We've had quite a few of those in the past where people have actually placed bombs and blew up, schools and union halls and churches and everything else. So you have to look at the actual real reason why people are doing it. You have to start there. It starts before the incident, not after the incident. You don't go, okay, the next shooting is going to take place in, Missouri at a private school there, or a public school there, or this. Okay, and then looking at, how do we fix it then? How about we start trying to fix the issue based on all the information we have now already? I mean, the FBI, has been tracking, school shootings and mass shootings since they started in this country, going back before they were even the FBI, when they were the Bureau of Investigation. They've been tracking this stuff. They have the data. Why don't we look at the actual data and see what connections can be made between each one and trying to solve and stop those individuals that may do it in the future? I know but when you think about that and you kind of let that churn in your mind, a lot of people, kind of like, well, that's RoboCop esque kind of shit. I don't have the answers. I just know that as a parent myself of a child, my son's school has been put on lockdown a couple of times, and he's only in the first grade. It's scary as shit. I'd hate to to think what might happen. And the drills and everything else that they have to go through, the mass shooting, drills that my son's school actually goes through, they're required by law here where I live twice a year to go through what they call a mass shooting incident. Yeah, I mean, I lived through the Cold War, going to school, and we had Cold War drills, duck, dive, and cover. You hid underneath your desk, in case the Ruskies dropped a nuclear bomb, like that desk was going to save us. We hid in, we had evacuation drills to the fallout shelter that was built in the school. These are things that I went through as a kid. Did it affect me negatively? I don't think so. I don't think I hated the Russians any more than what the national news told me I had it to hate them. But my son still has to go through these drills for mass shootings every year, and he probably will the rest of his time in school. But you have to really think about how does it affect the child as young as my son is 6, soon to in 9 days he'll be 7 years old. What? 7 years old in 9 days. The desk? Yeah. Miss K, you only had fire drills there? Well, here where I live, we used to have, like I said, atomic, bomb, warnings. We have giant. I live in a government town, and this entire place where I live right now, reside, is here because of the Cold War, and not only the Cold War, but before that, and building in the Manhattan Project. So it was always on the list of places for the Russians to attack with a nuclear weapon. But when I lived in Wisconsin and when I lived in Minnesota, we used to have drills there. And the only difference there, instead of it being nuclear weapons, it was tornadoes, and other natural disaster, drills, and fire drills and stuff like that we went through. But it's all the same thing. The only difference is your school desk was supposed to protect you in case of a nuclear blast. It wasn't going to protect you, but we still did it anyways as a kid. You got down on your knees, you put your hands over your head, you covered your head, and you put your head down and on your knees underneath your desk. That was that part of it. If there was time to evacuate, we evacuated from each and every classroom based on an alphabetical order. Each classroom was like Mrs. Smith's room would be letter A or A1 in the school. A1 went to the fallout shelter first, then A2, and so on through the entire alphabetical order until all children were evacuated to the fallout shelter. Oh, and where I live here today, we still have nuclear bunkers that are for the administration of the city and county. They have bomb shelters here that are fully stocked. They've got bunk beds in them, long-term rations, and all kinds of things. And they're fully active, and they will be for throughout history. A1 sauce. People kill people. They do. They always have. Since People have been upright. The first known, well, we can figure it was homicide. Goes back to the Neanderthals. You know, there's evidence that Neanderthals killed, those who they either had disputes with or were old and weak, because they found rocks embedded in the skulls of Neanderthal skeletons. But going back as far as then, we've had murders. I don't have the answers to anything. I wish I did. I mean, hindsight is 2020 on so many things, but when it comes to passing laws and making new restrictions and doing what you think is right to solve the problem of school shootings and mass shootings, we a lot of times we do these things and we do it based on our emotions. We want to solve the problem quickly, but we don't sit back and actually think about it. Now, I'm not talking about doing a 10, 20-year study on the entire thing. Like I said, the FBI already has the data on it. Why don't we use the data we already have to look at what we can actually do and where we can actually make, fundamental changes that can help, stop the next one. Will we be able to? No. I mean, I knock on wood, we haven't seen one yet where there's been a mass shooting where children are being let out to to go to a school bus where one is stood outside and just started mowing them down from outside. The design of a lot of schools really make it a lot more easier to do school shootings. We could definitely do a lot to improve the actual educational value for the student inside, so they could learn better, but also make it harder for a school shooter to go from classroom to classroom to classroom to classroom and just pick students off. Separating buildings, into multiple buildings on the same campus. That's a way, where you can lock down all of them, electronically, so they wouldn't be able to go from classroom to classroom. There's all kinds of things that could happen, but are those the answers? I don't know. Smoke them if you got them, ladies and gentlemen. Smoke them if you got them. One entrance, one armed guard with assault rifle and armed teachers. We do this at every courthouse. Are kids not as important? Yeah, I don't like that argument, Mike. Because you're then people are saying, look, this is more valued than others. I can tell you for 100% fact right now, my federal courthouse here does not have an armed guard with a fully or a semi-automatic weapon. They have a handgun, each officer. And at my district court and superior court, all of the guards there are unarmed. That's not the case across the United States. To say that that the children are not as important as those who are going to these courthouses and stuff like that, it should never be comparing one group to another. Yeah, obviously the children are as important, and they should be as important, if not more important, than everybody else. They are the future. But saying that look, there's an armed guard here in this situation, why do we not have it here? Okay, we have an armed guard that protects the president. Why don't we have an armed guard that protects every attorney? Why don't we have an armed guard that protects every school teacher? Where do we draw the line, and who we're actually going to protect with assault weapons, if you want to call it that, and who we're not going to protect? Why do we even have to get to that, militarized, level? That's what's scary as hell, and it should scare the hell out of a lot of you out there, is just how militarized your local police departments and sheriff's departments have become. You may not even know it, or even realize it, and the amount of power they have, because yeah, they definitely have to protect themselves, because the criminal is not going to stop and go, well, you know what, we have to stop at, just a Glock and 2 clips. We can't have any more than that, and or we seen with like that bank shooting in California where those robbers were armed to the hilt with body armor and everything, and they had every possible tool, and the police were severely unable to stop them because of what they actually had. But where do we draw the line on where we militarize the society? And what kind of society do you want to live in if we keep on arming everyone to the max and protecting everything with the massive amount? Why don't we park a tank in front of each and every courthouse and school in case someone comes up and looks threatening, and just blow them off the face of the earth? Why not javelin missiles? Well, we have those for every nuclear dump site. Why don't we have them at at courthouses or schools? Why stop there? It's a slippery slope, is what I'm saying. And I don't like the comparison of saying, look, we protect this part of society with weapons, but we don't protect this part. I'm not saying that we don't protect the children with guns, and an armed guard, but one armed guard at one entrance, is that the answer? If you think about it from a tactical standpoint, but from anyone who knows how to get someone out in the military, breach expert, they'll tell you one entrance, one exit from a store or a school or anything like that is a terrible idea, because how is everybody supposed to get out, and how are you supposed to stop the actual event, the shooter and from casualties? Because you're asking the law enforcement then to become the next wave of look, you killed all the students you wanted, now you just turn your weapon the opposite direction and start picking everyone off in the entrance, and you get up close. I mean, look how many officers are killed at less than 3 feet from the from the assailant. They walk up on a car, the person has a gun, boom, they blow them away right there. Well, that guy was armed. Why not make it so that the officer has to make everyone get out of the car and get on the ground before he asks for a driver's license? That would protect the officer to the max. I don't have the answers, though. I really don't. And it's a sub that the entire debate could go on forever, and we could be here all day, talking about it and debating it. One entrance, one exit sounds like a big fire hazard. It does sound like a big fire hazard, doesn't it? And Gayla, you guys use that as training sessions? They use that exact scenario here with our local law enforcement, where my friend is a local PD. They've learned an awful lot from that situation, for law enforcement across the country. Good morning, Lemon Pie. Well, like I said, I really think that the entire thing should be a national debate on how to really protect not only children, but how do we protect each other from society, and what kind of society should do we want to live in? Do we want to live in a society where your law enforcement is armed better and protected better than your armed services, your Army, your Marine Corps, are they, because they have so much surplus, and they're buying directly now, not even surplus. Do we want to live in a society where we basically have privatized little military groups in each community? Or should we do something to stop the individual way before they ever get their hands on it, where we have like mandatory reporting of, look, Uncle Bobby has been off his goddamn rocker for 6 months, because he stopped taking his medication, and he's got an entire safe full of weapons in his home. Maybe, the family should be mandated to report Uncle Bobby because he's batshit nuts. Because, for the last 6 months, he's been spewing, racial hate and talking about wanting to kill people. I mean, if you look back at, at least I know 4 of the last a dozen school shootings, the families knew that that there was something seriously wrong going on with their kids. They knew that they were dealing emotionally and mentally with some issues, but they didn't stop them. Amount of people, safety issues, medical fire hazards, logistics, even get personal with insurance issues. Yeah. I use Uncle Bobby as an example. It's one of the names that just comes to head. I have an Uncle Bobby, but for some reason it's just one of those names that that comes up whenever I'm talking to people about instances like this. I mean, I don't mean it as like really everybody who's got an Uncle Bobby, worry about Uncle Bobby. I worry about my Uncle Bobby. He's off his rocker, but he doesn't have any guns. My Uncle Bobby decided to become a chicken farmer and didn't know a damn thing about chickens. And he ended up killing them all. And then he decided to raise turkeys. And then he decided, you know what? I can make more money if they're free range turkeys. So he took an entire home, housing unit of turkeys. I think it was like 200 of them in each one. And he decided to open the doors and let them out into the field to be free range turkeys. But then it rained and they all drowned. They killed themselves because they're not exactly the domesticated, turkeys are not that smart. They drowned themselves in a rainstorm. They just opened their heads. That's why they have little tiny water feeders for them. He's not the brightest individual, my Uncle Bobby. But damn it, the man tries. Oh, Snoopy guy walks down the sidewalk in front of my house every day and gawks at my house the whole time. We have here in my neighborhood, we have a paranoid schizophrenic who he talks to himself out loud, and he carries on full-fledged conversations with people who are not there. And he will stop in front of homes, and it looks like he's gawking at people's homes or looking. He doesn't even know the damn house is there because he will walk right past the end of the street, right out into traffic, on a busy intersection. And that we have signs up, that warn people at those major intersections that, be on the lookout, and you're blinking lights and stuff because we know about him. But, he's harmless as hell. He doesn't know who he is. He doesn't know where he is. He doesn't know that there's a house there or a car there. Nothing. Because he is seeing in a completely different world. So maybe that's the same situation with the guy gawking, in your area. Maybe he doesn't know or realize what's really going on around him. But Kenny has been doing this since the late 1970s. I guess that's when he was first diagnosed with paranoid schizophrenia. But he constantly, you'll find him in the park, curled up in like the fetal position underneath a pine tree or something. It's feel bad for the guy. I mean, but when he's on his medication, he's just an average person. Yeah, I've seen him in the grocery store just walking around, buying groceries. And it's like, hey, you can talk to him, carry on a conversation with him when he's on his medication. But when he's off, he's off. And he has no idea where he is. Sad. But He walks miles and miles and miles every day because he walks from here to another town, which is like 16 miles away. And then they go pick him up and they bring him home each night because he always walks to the same place. And they find him in the same park or same area, at least. But everybody in this community knows him. Auditing London and the world. Good morning and welcome. Gemma Journey recommended you. Am now connected. Well, thank you. Thank you, Gemma. Love Gemma's content. Love Gemma. Attacked by a guy who's mentally ill. It was scary. Yeah. Well, me and my wife have a friend who is he's not schizophrenic. He's got some serious mental health issues, and he's a raging individual. He will come up to people and he will start a conversation with total strangers, and the answers that he's looking for are more spiritual, and he goes on these rants and tirades about God and religion in itself. And unfortunately, he has been through. We have a local court system here, it's mental health court, where for those who are actually suffering from mental health crises and they've been arrested for crimes, if they get back on medication and they go to therapy, they can have that criminal charge expunged from their record. But our friend Steven, he's been through it. He's been through the mental health court so many times. And it's not just him taking his medication. Even when he's on his medication, he still doesn't know what he's doing. And unfortunately, Mike, he has attacked people in the past physically. And he's not a really strong man. He's a skinny little, I think he's 5'4" ish right in there. Skinny as a rail, but man, when he gets mad, he gets the anger of a much, much bigger man, and the strength of a much, much bigger man. Feel for you. Should never happen to anybody. But you never know how to, all the science in the world and all the medication in the world can't help everybody. Send you thoughts and blessings from far. Kaya Ora. Cool, like drug court. We have drug court as well, Emily. We have veteran court, drug court, and mental health court. We have all three of them. It's basically trying to get people out of the system itself before they, institutionalize them, because regardless if people like this or not, this is the actual facts, ladies and gentlemen. In the 1970s and then going into the 1980s, when Ronald Reagan was elected president of the United States, and Ronnie did a lot of great things for this country. Do not get that wrong. All right, but Ronald Reagan took away and stripped mental health counseling and services from America, and we closed so many state hospitals, and all these people were just thrown out on the street. From that moment on, when that happened, up till now, our jail system has become the largest in-house mental health services, unit in America. Every county jail, every city jail across the nation has become the largest in-house mental health services. There are more people who are in jail right now that are, they're there because they're, in a mental health crisis, and we just ignored them. And at the same time, we still haven't put the money back into it for outpatient and stopping people before getting them out, before they actually end up in jail. I'm sure Gayla, has seen her fair share, in her career of those who were in county jail who, did things because they were off their medication, or they're there because they're out on the streets, they couldn't get their medication, and they, got in, they did some kind of crime to go back to jail to get their medication. It's sad. Don't take them. No, that's true. That's absolutely true, Gayla. You can't force people all the time. In some instances, we can force people to take their medication. Lori Vallow, when she was sent away for, to be rehabilitated, to be brought back to a level where she could aid in her own defense, she was forced to take, psychotropic medication when she was there. A drug diversion program, drug court saves lives. Yes, it does. Ronnie was more interested in the Star Wars program. Hmm. Families burning out and don't know what to do with them too. That's true, Emily. That is a part of it. Dealing with someone with mental health issues is a huge. I mean, my friend Steven, and an exact, no better example of that. His mother, his sister, and his an extended family and friends, even me and my wife, to a large portion. We've done everything we can for him, but we can't keep him on his medication. And there have been times, quite a few times, that more than I want to remember, I've come home and I found him in our garden shed. In there, he's just moved everything out of the way and made himself a little, place to lay down and sleep on a dirt floor. Because if for some reason his mind, it was somewhat safe for him to be there. We know he's there, but he's off his medication, and I certainly hell can't let him in the house around my son because I don't know what the hell he's going to do. And we try to get him the services that he needs, but families and friends do definitely get burnt out. Definitely. I know that one. Recidivism, incarceration, and impact of society's, communities, families. The recidivism rate in America is awful. Because you have to go, if you want to stop the recidivism rate in America, tell you, it's really easy to do. I'm telling you, if you start right now in 2024, come in 2024, you dump a hell of a lot of money. We're talking, take $1 billion, and that you would have given to the war in Iraq or wherever, some other conflict, or in Ukraine. Take $1 billion and dump it into early education and services for, and start there. You can stop the recidivism. You'll see a recidivism rate drop like there's no tomorrow. It might take 15 years. It may take, 18 years, but you will see the recidivism rate drop if you put $1 billion into early education and nutrition programs for children. You will see it drop. We've known it. We've seen it happen in other countries around the world time and time again. But here in America, there's no money in that. We got privatized jails and privatized prisons. Keep that door revolving, in and out, in and out. And it's not just a privatized system. The state makes money, and they have employed people to be in the jails and prisons that are controlled by the state and the counties and the state. We have all those employees, all those food vendors. That's money, and people have to have jobs. If without the recidivism rate, there wouldn't be any need for all those people. We wouldn't need more jails. We wouldn't need bigger prisons. We wouldn't need more prisons. We wouldn't need more jails. If we just put the money into early education, but we don't, because, well, that's not sexy. What's sexy is standing up on a stage somewhere behind a podium saying that you're going to fix the problem in America because you're going to get tough on crime. That's sexy. That's what people turn out and vote for. I'm voting for him because he's tough on crime. I'm not voting for him because he didn't say he's going to be tough on crime. Drug treatment. Drug treatment is really hard to find all over the nation, especially if you're poor or middle class. Yeah, there ain't nobody who's poor who's going to Betty Ford Clinic. There ain't no one who's poor who's going to was it Shady Tree? Where all the celebrities go, to meditate and get off drugs and ride horses and stuff like that. They're not going to Malibu, treatments programs if they're poor and middle class. There's an entire level, there's this will warehouse you and will teach you the 12-step program. Well, you'll get that here if you're poor or middle class. If you're rich, we'll do some psychotherapy and drug counseling and everything else to get you off drugs. You'll get the entire package. But if you're poor or middle class, you're not going to get those services. For an extent, there's some good programs out there. Respect Pickles. Wait, where do you live? Fresh out of prison, you're lucky. Get a job, but housing, forget it. Get a job. That's a reform right there, an easy step you could take. Stop putting it on an application. Have you been convicted of a felony ever? How about, have you been convicted of a felon in the past year or the past 2 years? How about, and leave it at that. If if they're applying for a position where they're going to be handling cash, and you need to know, is this person going to steal from me? Well, then you run a background check on them and you see, did that person steal cash or embezzle from a previous employer? Not that hard to do, but you don't have to put that on an application. Section 8 housing is off limits to anyone who has ever been convicted of a felony. In certain states, if you're convicted of a felony, you cannot get Pell Grants to go to school or to get a GED if you've been convicted of a felony in some states. I'd have to actually look up which ones those are right now, but I know there's quite a few of them. I know Ohio itself and Iowa have really strict rules when it comes to if you're out of prison and you've been convicted of a felony that is a violent crime, that they restrict you from a lot of areas, to live and where you can work in those states, Iowa and Ohio. But I'm sure there's a lot more of them out there. It started as homeless, low income. Minnesota, rural area. We are a groundbreaking program. You're in Minnesota? Whereabouts in Minnesota are you at? Respect Pickles, Sarah? I've lived in all of the following areas of Minnesota: Edina, St. Louis Park, in Minneapolis, St. Paul, and that's all around the Twin Cities area. Going upstate, up 90. I've lived in Little Falls, Brainerd, St. Cloud, Bemidji, International Falls. I've lived north of the Detroit Lakes. So you're up over here. All right. That's a pretty area. I used to go fishing up that way with my dad when I was a little kid. We used to have a cabin. Well, we called it a cabin. Long story there, but the quick version is we bought land on a lake. The lake is actually called Woman Lake. It's outside of Hackensack, Minnesota. And my dad and my grandpa wanted to stick the middle finger to the county because they wanted to charge us taxes if we built a permanent structure on the property. So what my dad and my uncle did was they built an entire cabin, and it was all put together with bolts and wing nuts, so it could all be taken apart. It's a permanent structure, but it's not attached to the ground, and because it all can be undone with wing nuts. So they skirted the tax man, in the county by doing that. You know it. You know where Hackensack is? Yeah, well, we had that up until about 2000. I hadn't been there probably 20 years by that point. 1980-ish was the last time I was there. But it kind of went from family member to family member, and then finally we sold the property off. We donated a large portion of it to Ducks Unlimited. I need to jump. You need to go. Well, if you guys need to take off, I hope you have a terrific weekend. I'm about to wrap this up here myself. Just jump like Van Halen jump. Might as well jump. Go ahead and jump. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you again for joining me this Saturday morning for Crime Recap and Open Chat. I hope you all have just leave Minnesota. Oh, I've left Minnesota a long time ago. I live in Washington State now. But we moved from the Little Falls area by the Monticello nuclear plant. We moved from there out here to where I am, surrounded by a toxic nuclear wasteland, is where I live now. And yet I still don't glow in the dark. Who knew? 21 Jump Street. There you go, Reichart. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you again for being here. I hope you all have a terrific weekend and stay safe out there. Until next time, quickly, if you haven't, give us a thumbs up. Will, did you watch the piece I told you about on the serial killer? I don't remember which one that is, Emily. I've watched quite a few in the last couple of days. Minnesota versus. I still have property in Wisconsin, though. We're going to have that the rest of our lives. We have a family farm outside of Prescott, which is just across the border from the Twin Cities. But everyone, stay safe out there until next time. Bye.